Immigration on first generation kid. Me, even though I'm not a kid anymore. I'm a big kid now. ICE, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, has just hit record highs by having 59,000 immigrants locked up.
Speedy Gonzalez was arrested early this morning by U.S. immigration officers. According to the report, Gonzalez was seen trying to elude the ICE officers' trap by running extremely fast while yelling in broken English.
And then you have babes like BLAiRE WHiTE saying things like, oh, what other country do you know that just lets people come in illegally?
The word illegal is a weaponized word. It was made to make you forget that the native never signed off on the fences, that the black was smuggled in as property, not passengers, that the Chinese built the railroads and then got a ban in return, that the Mexicans became foreign on the land that used to be theirs. You confuse border with belonging. You confuse paperwork with personhood.
And that kind of oppression and discrimination and racism lives throughout our bloodlines. And it gets carried on to generation to generation. Oh, we're in 2025. That doesn't happen anymore. Why do you want to be a victim so bad? It's not that we want to be a victim so bad. We just want to recognize all the fucking shit that we have been put through as a culture or as a BIPOC person, right? So yeah, BLAiRE WHiTE is like, that's nuts. Like, what other country do you know that just lets people come in illegally? You know what's nuts to me? California used to be a part of Mexico. And I'm pretty sure El Paso, Texas, where I was born and raised, was also part of Mexico at some point too. So I looked into it a little bit further, and I found out that before Mexico was Mexico, it was New Spain. And before New Spain was New Spain, it was ANAHUAC. Before being known as New Spain, the area of Mexico was primarily referred to as ANAHUAC by its indigenous inhabitants. But yeah, so that's what's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that it's just like, oh, you're illegal, and history is not my forte, but we're literally on stolen land.
The guy goes, go back to where you came from. I am 40% Native American. I told him, ta-da.
Look, I'm indigenous and I'm in special ed. How about this? The more you laugh, I get a piece of my land back. What the fuck?
It is June 26, 2025 right now. The current administration is cutting funding to programs like Medicaid, MEDiCAL, and WIC. If you were ever a beneficiary of any of these programs, this should matter to you. And I just served the Spanish-speaking population for a year, primarily working with non-citizens, and I got to see firsthand how underserved this population is, right? And cutting funding towards these programs, these cuts are framed as ways to reduce government spending, but they have significant consequences for millions of people who rely on these programs for healthcare, food assistance, and essential services. So they can frame it however they want to frame it, but they know exactly what they're doing, and they know who they're targeting and what communities they're targeting.
It was in Arizona, and the white people there have invented a law where they're pulling people over for driving Mexican. The lawmakers say it's not racist at all. Really? Then how come nobody's pulling over white people under being suspicious of being Canadian? We don't say anything when they come for one group. It makes it incredibly easier to not say anything when they come for another group. And when they come for you, there ain't gonna be nobody left to say anything. We're all fingers upon the same hand. We may not look alike, but we're all needy.
So I definitely remember hearing the word WIC when I was growing up in El Paso, Texas. So I know that there's this negative connotation or framing out there that people who receive government assistance are just lazy freeloaders. But let me tell you, that is not the case, because I come from a family of very hardworking people. My parents are superhuman to me. What they did with their time, their dedication, their hard work, their effort, I am so proud to be a daughter of theirs. And working in addiction and recovery, these treatment centers are primarily affected when you cut funding. Medicaid is the largest payer of addiction treatment in the US. Cutting it by $793 billion means more overdose deaths, more suffering, and fewer people getting the help they need to survive. Take care of yourselves, because there's a lot of my commentary, and what I am about to share with you all can sound like, oh, poor little rich girl, pobrecita. I am very well aware that it can come off like that, you know what I mean? So please let me know if there's anybody that resonates with the experience. So I said it before and I'll say it again. I am Leila Marie Palacios, and I am a proud daughter of a Mexican-American immigrant. And I owe everything that I have to this day to my mother and dad. Thank you both. Thank you, family. Life is beautiful. I know it can be hard to look at it like that when there's all this shit going on. And I would also like to briefly remind you that although the media likes to focus on Mexican Americans, right, La Raza, I want you to be aware that our other BIPOC brothers and sisters are getting deported and fucking being locked up when they're with the rest of La Raza, okay? So it's not just Mexicans, right? It's our other BIPOC bros and sisters. others. Please enjoy in this fucking chaos that we're all in, this sometimes satirical sharing of what it's been like to be the first generation of immigration. And kind of to foreshadow the comedic commentary that you're about to watch, I would like to offer these comedians, right, and what they're saying in these little bits.
You know, it's really hard growing up pale and Mexican. Yeah, it was hard. I think it was even harder growing up pale, Mexican, and gay. I mean, that was...
Listen, being Mexican-American is tough. We gotta prove to the Mexicans how Mexican we are, and we gotta prove to the Americans how American we are. We gotta be more Mexican than the Mexicans, and more American than the Americans, both at the same time. It's exhausting.
Because we have rednecks too. They sound exactly like the white ones. You don't believe me? Watch this. White redneck.
I'll tell you what.
Mexican redneck.
¿Sabes qué, güey?
White redneck.
Ding, 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 ding.
Mexican redneck.
Bailamos con el tuca, bailamos con el...
Same guy.
Oiga, paisa, ¿cuánto tienes viviendo en Estados Unidos?
I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish.
No seas mamón, verga.
Mexican Americans love education, so they go to night school and they take Spanish and get a B.
Wow. My dad took me back to Mexico for messing around over here. And I'm walking around Mexico going, fuck, I'm Mexican, but not like this. My cousin's 10 years old, already working construction. He has a mustache, he's married. He shook my hand, almost broke that shit.
Oh my God. Mira nomás. Tu hija huevona malagradecida.
No manches, no hace ni madre. Qué desgracia.
Are mothers and daughters just destined to butt heads? I love my mother and I would not change her for the world, honestly. If I am 10 or 5% of the woman she is, I would be set in life. You know what I'm saying? The truth of the matter is, though, that we have had very different experiences growing up. You know what I mean? Let me just start off by saying this. 9 years old. My mother, what was she doing at 9 years old? She was cleaning houses at 9 years old and bringing home the money and giving it all to her mom. 9 years old. What was I doing at 9 years old? I had the luxury of being a 9-year-old and just being in my own little world. What was I doing at 9 years old? Probably watching Cómplices al Rescate, you know, it's like a telenovela but for kids, or probably like Rebelde, you know, or probably listening to Hilary Duff, you know what I mean? The Dreams or something, you know what I mean? Or watching Princess Diaries 1,000 times. Miracles happen once in a while. If you believe, you know, is there always going to be that generational gap between the parent-child relationship, right? And why is suffering inherent in that parent-child dynamic? She always like kind of curses me and says, you're gonna suffer everything that you made me suffer when you have a kid. And it's like, damn, I don't want to suffer.
Existence is pain.
So that's why I was asking at the beginning, is the parent-child relationship always inherent of suffering? You know what I mean? I really don't want it to, but maybe it is because of the generational gap. But so 9 years old, right? That's the difference right there. 9 years old, she was doing that. And what was I doing? I never had to even think about something like that. My mom did. Another thing, what was my mom doing at 16 years old, right? She lost a shoe at 16 in the river. She wanted a better life, so she came here to the United States. I'm in California right now, but I'm from El Paso, Texas. So what was I doing at 16? Again, I had the privilege and the luxury of dancing every weekend at a rave. You know what I mean? That's what I was doing at 16 years old, being a little rave girl, right? I mean, I was dancing, healing unseen wounds on the dance floor. So it's different. It's very, very different experiences, right? All of my life, I've had that like pressure, right?
Oh, boo-hoo!
This is why I wanted to talk about immigration on first generation kid. You know what I mean? Because the impact, what is the impact? I'm constantly comparing my experience to that grand sacrifice that my mother has done till this day still. Constantly comparing my little struggles, you know what I mean, to that big, like if my mom like overcame all of that, why the fuck can't I overcome all of this? Which brings me why I wanted to make this video, right? We had this conversation the other day where she was just like breaking down because she's in retirement and she just doesn't have the ability to support me how she used to when shit hits the fan like right now, you know what I mean? So she was just having this moment of like, you know what I mean? And she thought that I didn't understand, and I had to tell her that of course I understand. I was telling my mother, I'm like, I am very well aware that you think you would be way further in life with all of these silver platters that you have given me. I know you think you would be way further in life. I am very well aware, right? Because she's always told me in life, always, no sé qué piensas de la vida, Leila, until now, I'm 31, I'm an adult. And she's like, I don't know what you think about life, right? And I'm not trying to get all woo-woo artistic or whatever the fuck, but how do you explain a vision that you have to somebody? And they're never going to believe it until it's here. I mean, obviously, you need money to survive, you know what I mean? And I know her concerns are coming from a very deep, well-meaning place. And I'm just sorry that there's that generational gap and they feel that I've been ungrateful, because I'm so grateful, you know what I mean? I just wish that the reality that I can see myself living in was here already, so they can reap the fruits of my labor of love that is my passion pursuits. I want to help people. I'm a therapist in training and counselor in training, I guess, or on the road to becoming certified. It's two different things, but I'm both. And I don't want to open up a business for profit. Like, I want to open up a business to help people. How can I get sponsorships to be able to offer services at little to no cost? You know what I mean? How can I have people on my team, and how can I still be able to give them their fee and another tip on top of that while providing the service to the client at little to no cost, right? Like, the client probably only pays like $5 or $10. Why is this relevant? Because I was having this conversation with my mom. How do we make these services appreciated by the person who's getting them at little to no cost, right? Because what do you hear by people that have had silver platters, that if you give somebody something too easy, they're not going to appreciate it, right? And that's what my mother thinks. She thinks that they've given me all these silver platters all of my life, and that it's made me rotten and not appreciated the value of $1 or something like that. You know what I mean? Which fucking hurts.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Because I think she only thinks that because I'm not where she thinks she would be if she had all those silver platters when she was growing up. That's emotional labor that I don't want to take on, though. You know what I mean? I feel like I have been titrating, myself to cater to the emotional state of my mother since I was a child. And I'm like, I want to draw the line there but then when I want to put my boundary, that sounds so stupid and hurtful, because I think of all of the times that she's done emotional labor with me. All those times that she's been on the phone just listening to me, you know what I mean? And I can't do the same for her, you know what I mean? It's like, no mames, That's like the conflict of like modern day society, psychology, and, Mexican traditional values. Like, what do you mean boundaries? What do you mean you're not going to talk to your parents or something like that? You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody knows what I mean. There's that like funny stereotype in the Mexican culture, like depresión. What the fuck do you mean depression? Like, that shit doesn't exist. Fucking dust it off, pony up, and get the fuck to it. What is this fucking depression bullshit? Every time we talk about stuff that happened in the past, it's like, oh yeah, déjalo, leave it in the past, like under the rug, move on, keep it going. We all walk around with a lot of inherited emotional baggage, but I don't want to inherit that onto the next generation. And I know how cliche it sounds to be like, I'm the generational curse breaker, but yeah, who has the willingness to look at their darkness face to face, or even to look at their blind spots or their fuck ups? I'm the first one to say, hey, yeah, that was me. I fucked up. Let's talk about this. I love my mother. And I feel like I've never been able to be the daughter that she deserves. And that fucking sucks. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about like her ideas of success. And obviously she's always supported me, and obviously she's proud of me, and obviously I am the daughter that she wants, you know what I mean? But ay, pobrecita, like I have really put her through some shit, but not on purpose, Not on purpose. Like getting arrested for cannabis possession. Like I remember that was the third time I got in trouble for cannabis, but like the second time I remember she was in the laundry hallway and she was like yelling, no quiero una hija marihuana, like I don't want a cannabis daughter. And it's like, But then one time we were having a conversation, like I was trying to ask her to imagine if we grew up in a reality where we had like elders that taught us about plant medicine. And I asked her to imagine how different it would be, right? How different we would view these substances, right? This like criminalized and demonized thing that is cannabis, right? How differently this plant would be viewed if we had that upbringing. And she kind of took that in and she did imagine it. And she was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like it would be different,
This is America. I want Jesus and a
But yeah, pobrecita. And that sucks, man. And I think that's her point. You know, I feel like as a parent, we have all these hopes and inspirations for our kid, but then our kid is their own person, right? And the child doesn't have an obligation to be a replica of the parents. I fully believe that I came into this world the perfect combination of my parents. And I know it sounds weird to say, but I think I'm the perfect combination. Like, I'm my father's cool, and I'm my mother's like glam and sensuality and just like girly popness. Like the perfect combination of cool and girly pop. You know, I love it. I love it. And then my father, like the intellectual, and then my mother, like the street smarts and like her own psychology of life. I love it. I inherited both. I love my parents. I love them. I love them. I love them. She was just telling me, like, she's always told me, we are not eternal. We are going to perish one day. And I don't want to perish knowing that you're not like well set up or something like that. And that's another thing I want to talk about. We all have different markers of success. I am so grateful that my parents have gifted me a life where I never had to envy something that somebody else had. Like, never. Till this day, I do not envy somebody else's life. Like, I am, you know what I mean? Like, nunca he querido algo que tiene otra persona. Like, never. The only envy that I've ever known is when a fucker is like cheating on me, you know what I mean? And being like infidelity bullshit, you know what I mean? That's when I'm like, like, I don't even like want what the girl has that my hypothetical boyfriend in this scenario is having. I don't even envy that woman because I'm queer. So when I look at the woman, I'm like, I see it. You know, I see what you see. I get it. I've never like envied something that somebody else had. And that's because of my parents. La vida que ellos me han podido dar. Nunca nos faltó nada. They worked really hard to be providers for us. I'm so grateful. And they always remind me, a ti te ha tocado lo mejor. You've had the best from both of us. You know what I mean? Like, she has got me to where I am till this day. You know what I mean? And I'm 1,000% grateful for that. Because of the life that my parents have provided for me, I have had the privilege to have access to freedoms and choices, internal conflicts that my mother never even had the safety to experience, right? So how can I ask her to understand my experience? Right? And probably what I'm going through isn't even visible to her. You know what I mean? Because the reasoning that she has, all these silver platters you've had all your life, what the fuck, you know? What I wouldn't have done with all your silver platters. I know there's people that think that. Like, so then they're kind of like, so what? You know, they kind of want to like shake me like, then what are you thinking? You know, it's like my struggles have been less about survival and more about autonomy, identity, healing trauma that might not be visible to my mother. And I hope that me and my mother can work out this conflict that we always seem to fall into. And I love her. And it's funny, there's Cheech Chong's last movie, and there was a scene where they were like,
do you ever argue?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
We don't argue.
We argue.
We discuss.
We argue.
We don't argue, we discuss.
And I was like, oh my God, that's the epitome of me and my mother, right? I'm like Capricorn, like, no, we don't argue, we discuss. Like, we discuss, we can discuss this. My mom, the Cancer, oh no, we argue, you know it. What's your zodiac sign? It has to be theatrics. And oh, I am the drama queen with theatrics too sometimes, so I'm not saying that my mom's the only drama queen. I'm, hello, drama queen too, you know? I love her so much, and I don't want to butt heads as much as we have been all these years. And it's interesting because I don't hold back, you know, when we're discussing, I don't hold back. So I say what I want to say. And, you know, it's like, oh, it's hurtful. And it's like, oh, and then we can't talk about it because then it's like, oh, you know, so it's like, I love her. I wanted to title this Failed Daughter of Immigrant Mother, but I felt like immigration on first generation kid probably seemed a little bit more chill, you know, because I don't feel like a failure. Like I said, we all have different markers of success. And I don't care that it's taken me longer than most to finish what I started, I was going to say a few years ago, but it's been more than a few years ago. Like I said, I wouldn't change my experiences at all. And I'm so grateful that my parents have gifted me the life that they have. I'm so excited to share with my parents, and may God grant me, my parents, for enough time for me to be able to share my life with them, because I know I can see it. I love you, Mom, and I hope I didn't sound harsh. I'm just like soul vomiting my feelings out here. I've been carrying this experience of comparing my struggles to her grand struggles that she overcame, right? My struggles to hers seem like, you know what I mean? There has to be somebody else that feels like this, like the pressure and the comparison, the heavy comparison of like, fuck, like all the struggles that my mom went through do not compare to mine. However, they don't make my struggles are not any less than hers. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just different. It's different, but not any less than. You know, they're both valid struggles. If I go back in time, I would not change my experiences for the world. You know what I mean? Because, okay, when I was freshly out of high school, my first job was McDonald's.
This ain't Burger King, you son of a bitch. This is real American prime dining. Good cuisine. Eat the new big fucking chicken Big Mac. It's real good. It's real good for you. No one's not from it.
And I was there for 4 years, and it got me through my bachelor's. I loved it. And like I said, I would not change that for the world if I go back in time. However, I do want to credit my mother in her advice. She was like, I think you just wasted a lot of time at McDonald's. I think you should have gotten like an entry-level job. And she's right. You know, I was freshly into psychology, and an entry-level job probably could have been very well, you know, to start building up my resume or whatever. You know what I mean? But like I said, it was perfect for me for what I wanted at the time. And I was studying, and I had a lot of fun. So I don't even know what my point was in saying that whole job scenario, but she's well-meaning and I understand, you know? And at the same time, I'm living my own experiences, and I don't know if anybody resonated with that, but if you're still here, thank you, aliens, baliens, kings, queens, and in-betweens. This is the Violet Flame Outcast with Leila Marie Palacios, your favorite thought-provoking alien, here, about to pick an oracle to end this video with you all. Thank you for being here. I wanted to end with gentle reminders, you know, because it's not that this is a heavy topic. The other video that I just posted is kind of a heavy topic, but to kind of bring levity to this whole immigration on first generation kids scenario, let's just end with a couple of gentle reminders. I got this on Amazon, and all of the links are going to be in the description. Then we're going to read the relationship portion of the Wisdom of the Oracle, and we're going to end with Signs of the Times. I got this one on Amazon as well. And this one was a gift. Oh, one jumped out, so let's read it. It is possible to hold both gratitude and grief at the same time. At the same damn time. At the same damn time. I wanted another one, so I'm gonna pick this one. Let's see. It is possible to observe your fears without having them fully consume you. That is our gentle reminders. Now for the Wisdom of the Oracle, let's give it a quick shuffle and pick one. We got the Flexible card. Flexible, and we're going to read the relationship portion. It reads as follows. Essential meanings: teachability, open-mindedness, being adaptable without compromising what's most important. But let's see what the relationship message says. In every relationship, it's important to be open to new experiences and learning new things. Letting go of rigidity is what's required right now. You don't always have to be right all the time, do you? It's okay to come to a happy compromise. You can still get your needs met. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful day, no. It's a beautiful day when you meet halfway. When you meet halfway. Okay. It's a beautiful day when you meet halfway. The appearance of this card in a reading could also signal that you have met someone new who may not be your type, but who will turn out to be so special that you can easily release your old ideas about what sort of partner is right for, flipping the page, you. Be flexible. You'll be happy you made that choice. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and let's end with Signs of the Times. Let's give it a quick shuffle. We got Skull. Endings, number 29. Also, before reading this card on the commentary on the other card, I think that's also true. Sometimes when we're in communication with another, we want to be right? I like this quote that says, I don't listen to be right, I listen to understand, right? And I think it is possible to arrive at a healthy compromise, especially like with a mother-daughter dynamic. So I love you, Mom. And thank you for your patience with me, because I know how I can be, you know what I mean? And I've become like really like, my heart is like protected with armor and has like a shield of like cold. You know, it's like cold. And then there's like spikes and like an electric fence, all protecting this beautiful, big ass, gushy heart, you know? So thank you for being patient with that coldness, you know what I mean? Because my body just responds how it responds. Like sometimes she gets close to me and like, I just, you know, I get like, my body hardens, right? And she's like, why do you get all stiff when I try and hug you? You know what I mean? So I've always been weird at like receiving love or being, I don't know, the receptivity of love. I'm still working on it. Even like with people that I hold near and dear to my heart, when I see them, it's like, can we hug still? You know, like, is it cool? And it's like, of course, Layla, come here, bring it in, you know? Anyways, I digress. Let's see what this skull card says. It says, the skull appears when endings are at hand. It is a powerful symbol of mortality, but this card also symbolizes the circle of life, both endings and how those endings birth new beginnings. You could be experiencing the end of a relationship, job, or phase in your life, and it is imperative that you give yourself space to grieve this ending. Allow the time and space to accept it and process your emotions, whether it is welcome and has been a long time coming or is sudden and unexpected. Change is often uncomfortable, but this symbol is urging you to look at endings with a different perspective. The plants pictured growing from the skull vase on this card symbolize the growth that can occur after the end. This is the end. My only friend, the end. Endings act as fertile ground for whatever you decide to plant next. Give yourself grace as you experience these transitions and prepare for a fresh start. Additional meanings: mourning and grief, letting go, difficulties are ending, accepting things that you cannot change. And that's what it is, my friends. Have a beautiful, wonderful existence. Thank you for being here, alien, Balian, king, queen, and in between. Please like and subscribe or comment a little emoji or whatever resonates with you. It helps me with the algorithm gods and get out there and continue to soul vomit my wisdom through this lived experience as a human in 2025 right now anyway. Thank you for being here. This has been the Violet Flame Outcast with Layla Marie Palacios. Thank you.
The experience of a first-generation kid now in 2025, I imagine, is something like, oh, fuck, my parents got taken away and we got separated, right? Or I have these memories of being locked up. I don't know what conditions they're being locked up in, or if the families are being kept together or separated or what, but that is wild.